game Dimension X. So Dimension X basically is the name of our game. You can have your name. This is my game's name. So yeah, there are no restriction to it. So this would be an endless arcade game which is probably created for the Android OS. So next thing which we are going to take a look is we are going to just let's take a look over the content of this section. So in this section we are going to understand several important things while using Unity. So this is what we are going to learn while creating this game, which is the first thing which we are going to learn is the basic level setup and working on the controls of the spaceship. Of course, we are going to just take a look over this because we want to create a specific type of game, right? So the next thing which we are going to learn and which is universal is the create an algorithm for endless world, guys. So the algorithm which you would be learning over here, you could apply somewhere else in another game as well, guys. So this is what this thing is what new, guys. So this is what you are going to learn in Unity. And then we are going to write a code to create random obstacle, guys. So we are going to write another code to create random obstacle. This is also a universal code you could use anywhere while creating such type of games. And the fourth thing which we are going to understand, or you can say learn, is the VFX. And this VFX we are going to design it using a particle system of the Unity. So this VFX won't be that good, but yeah, it would be for the understanding purpose. We would be creating a very simple starter levels VFX. So the next thing which we are going to study in this section is we are going to create our own UI for the game, which is going to include game over menus and the main menus. So the next thing which we are going to add into this game is going to be the sound effects, guys. So yeah, so the sound effects actually make your game look very cool because the sound effects engage the player in playing the game, guys. So the next and the last thing which we are going to do is build up the final Android version of the game. An Android version would be, of course, the APK file. So the once you have completed this section, your game would look something like this. This would be your main menu. This would be your start game scene, and this is where the obstacles get generated while playing the game. And this, as you can see, this is the very small exhaust of the spaceship. This is what your VFX, guys. And then at last we are going to have our game over menu. So this is what you are going to study in this lecture, so stay tuned. So today we are going to work on a new section, which is the first game, Dimension X. It is an endless arcade game which we are going to develop in Unity. So to do that, in this video I'm going to show you where to collect your resources, or you can say the assets. So I have provided you all of the assets which I am going to use in my game. It is provided in the folder of resources, which is below the video, or you can collect the asset from the Unity asset store. So if you want to collect the asset from the Unity asset store, what you have to do is just open a browser and search for Unity asset store, and then just click on that Unity asset store link, the best assets for game making. After clicking on that, you can search for any kind of asset which you need, or you can say you can even have the paid ones, or you can have the free ones also. And you can have 2D 3D assets and essentials, templates, audio. Also you can also get VFX from the asset store. You can get actually all kinds of assets which can be used to develop games. So in our game we are just going to need one rocket, or you can say the spaceship, as a main asset, or you can say a 3D asset, and rest all of the assets would be used from the Unity, or you can say we are going to use some basic models and we are going to create a cool game using them. So let's get started. So with that said, guys, in the next lecture we are going to study about the how to import the assets which are provided you in the asset folder, or you can say the resources folder, how to import those assets into your game. So we're going to learn how to import those assets which were provided to you by me in the resource folder. So let's take a look. So to do that, what you have to do is create an empty project name as Dimension X. So open up the Unity Hub application and create a new project. So click on that new button. Since we want to build up a 3D game, you need to click on that 3D and name the project as Dimension X, or you can have any kind of the name. There is no restriction to that, of course. So I would like my game to be named as Dimension X. After naming it, just hit the create button and Unity is going to start building the project for us. So guys, once the project is completely built by the Unity editor, what you have to do is just go to the folder which includes our asset, which is spaceship, and the other textures. So what you have to do is just drag that spaceship folder inside the Unity, and the Unity is going to import it into the project. So once it is ready, or you can say once it is imported, what you have to do is next is you have to import all those 5 textures, which includes binary 1 2 3 and grid 1 2. So just drag it again in the project panel and see what happens. Unity is going to just import those textures for us. So now let's create a folder, name it as textures. Okay, and just drag it inside of it. All those textures, just drag inside the texture folder so it looks quite good for our game, and how to work on the controls of the spaceship. So let's get started. So to create a basic level in our game, what we are going to do is we need what is the concept of the game. Actually is the concept of the game is a ship is going to fly endlessly over the track, and it has to avoid all the obstacles which are coming on its way. So what you have to do for that is just create a cube on the hierarchy. So create a sample cube inside of it, and let's increase the width of our cube. So let's first make it to the origin. Let's bring it to the origin. Let's bring our cube to the origin, and what you have to do is now just increase the width over the x-axis. So let's make it 10, or you guess let's make it let's increase the size of the cube respective to our with respect to our spaceship. So let's first drag a spaceship into our this scene and see what is the size of our spaceship. So as you can see, the spaceship is too huge, and what you have to do is, since the color of the spaceship is pure white, what you have to do is we need to create a material for it. What is a material? Actually, a material is a color which is given to any kind of a model, a 3D object. So let's create a material first. So just right click on the project panel and just create, and go inside and find the material which is right here, and just click on that material and name it as spaceship matte, or you can have any kind of name. So no need to worry about it. There are no hard rules to just name that. So once the material has been created, what you have to do is just select this albedo. The albedo is going to be our low dose diffuse. So click on that low dose diffuse, and just it's fine, and just now just drag that material over the spaceship. So as you can see, the spaceship has got its color right now, and what we have to do is just use those other textures as well. So this is a specular texture. So what you have to do is just find a specular inside of it. Since we don't have any kind of specular, we need to replace the shader. So let's make it standard specular setup. So once we click on that, we are going to get a specular texture as well. So what we have to do is now just drag that specular texture over there, and as you can see, now a looks changes. The looks of the spaceship changes it with it. So now what you have to do is there is one more texture which is a glow one, right? So as you can see, if it is a glow texture, actually there is no space for glow texture, or you can say there are no options for the glow map. So what you have to do is just click on that animation checkbox, and you have to just go inside there. What is the animation? Animation is nothing but, in short, a glow. In other words, it is a glow, right? So what you have to do is in the animation, under the animation, we have got a color texture, right? So what you have to do is just drag that glow texture inside of it. So as you can see, our spaceship has got a bit of glow on itself, right? So now our spaceship is ready with the material. What you have to do is just create a prefab for it so that we can save it. So let's create a prefab folder also. So create a folder, name it as prefabs, and then just drag this Ludo. Let's first rename our Ludos as spaceship, right? and then just drag that spaceship right inside that prefab folder. And yes, you need to click on that original prefab button, not a prefab variant. So click on that original prefab button, and we are ready to go. So our spaceship is ready. So first what you have to do is just delete this cube, and instead of cube, let's try to use plane, right guys? So bring out the plane and just bring it to the origin. So to do that, just follow me, and you have brought this plane to the origin, guys. So what you have to do right now is just decrease the size of the spaceship because it's too big, right? So what you have to do is just scale it manually. So make it 0.2, 0.2 and 0.2 in all of the three axes. So now our spaceship looks a bit standard, a bit of a standard size, right? So what you have to do right now is just bring it to the center again. So manually bring it to the center, and as you can see, our spaceship is now in the center. So since at the y-axis it's not properly working, right? So what you have to do is just drag it on the y-axis, and as you can see, just make it proper. Okay, so just make it look proper. So now we are ready with our spaceship, and let's create a track, right guys? So with to create a track, what we have to do is just increase the size of the plane over the x-axis and the z-axis. So to increase the size of the plane over the x-axis, just manually scale it on the x-axis. So I would like to scale it to 10. I guess 10 would be a good one, or let's make it less to 8, right? So it is just far more better, right? It is good, not 8. Okay, make it 10 only, it's fine. And let's increase the length of the plane as well. With the width, we need to increase the length of the plane as well. So increase the size, so scale the plane over the z-axis. So let's scale it to almost 10, or you can say let's scale it to 20. Okay guys, so now our plane has been scaled to 10 and 20 respectively. So now what you have to do is, we are ready with our first track, right? So what you have to do right now is just add a texture to it. Add a texture to our plane. So what you have to do for that, guys, is just create another material. So go inside the texture folder and just add or create a material, guys. So this would be our basic material. So name it as track matte. And now add a color. Since we don't have any kind of texture for our track, what we can do actually is, instead of white, what you need to do is get it to black, right guys? So now just drag that texture over the plane, and as you can see, the color of the plane has been changed from white to black. So what you have to do right now is, since it is a bit matty, so what you can do is just increase the smoothness of the plane of the material. So as you can see, guys, when I click on that plane which is present on the hierarchy, what you can do is go inside that inspector panel and go at the last, you are going to find a track matte material components. Then just click on that small arrow, and you are going to visit all of these functions of the material, or you can say all of those values of the materials, right? So now in that, just increase the smoothness of the plane of the material. So as you can see, it is getting shiner and shiner, it is getting smoother and smoother, guys, right? So if you want to change its metallic look, if you want the track to look more like metal, what you can do is increase the value of the metallic, right? So as you can see, if we increase the value of metallic, the surface of the plane is going to look more like a metal, guys. So as you can see, if I increase or decrease the value of metallics, so goes the material. So materials looks also changes. It makes the plane more look more metallic, guys. So I would like to have my metallic value to 0.2, and I want to have my smoothness to around 0.8. So with that, guys, our first track is been ready to use, right guys? So with that, guys, we need to create a border for our this track. So let's get started with it. So with that said, guys, now we are going to create a border for our track, right? So if you want to know which way is the forward, so you just need to look at this X, Y and Z1, this logo. So what you have to do is, if you want to look at the forward direction, you should have your Z axis over that side in the front, right guys? It should be always here, and Y should be always up, and X should be on the right side. So generally it is also known as, instead of X, you can also know it by right axis, or you can say this one Y as the up axis and Z axis as the forward axis. So with that said guys, now let's create the border for our track. So to create that border for our track, you have to do just, you need to create a simple cube over the hierarchy. So click on that 3D object and create that cube. So bring its transform to the center, bring it to the origin, and then just drag that cube right in the x-axis on the right side, in the positive direction of x-axis, and after bringing it to the positive direction of the x-axis, just bring it slightly more in, just increase these direction, just increase that transform, so make it 50.5. and now what you have to do is we need to increase the length in the forward direction of that cube, right? So it would cover all of our tracks. So what you can do is you can make it 100 and try what it does. So as you can see, some of the spaces will remaining, so let's make it 200. So after making it 200, it is going to completely fill our track, right guys? So as you can see, it is properly fitting our track. So what you can do is you need to just drag it up a bit. Okay, it's not working. So what you can do is just increase the scale of this cube over the y-axis also. So let's make it 2.5, and as you can see, now the border looks quite good, right guys? So just drag that a bit up in the y-axis. Okay, just make it 1 on the y-axis manually, and as you can see, we have created our right border of the track. So what you have to do is now is just rename it as border underscore right, so that we know it is the right border of the game. So after renaming it as a border right, we need to create another border, which is the border left. So what you have to do is just click on that border right and just press Ctrl D, so you can duplicate that object and then just name it as border underscore left. So it becomes a left border, right guys? So just okay, instead of just manually dragging it, what you can do is just manually change the position, right guys? So instead of plus 50.5, you can do minus 50.5. So as you can see, the object directly snapped to minus 50.5 on the x-axis. So now our border is ready for the track, and let's create a child and parent relationship between them. So as you can see, this is our track. What we have to do is we need to create a child and parent relationship between them. So what you can do is just click on those, press control key, and then click on that border right and border left, and just drag these two over the track. So what you can see now is the track, this border right and left are the parent of this track. So if you drag the track, the border as well are going to transform with them, right guys? So as you can see, it is transforming with that. So again, bring them to the center, to the origin, and now we are ready to go. So let's create a prefab for this track, so the so we can save our objects, right guys? So go inside the prefab folder and just drag that track over the prefab folder. So now we have got a prefab of our track done, guys. So with that, let's take a look over the controls of this shape. So now guys, we are going to take a look on the work control, or you can say the controls of the shape, the player controls of this shape, right guys? So if you want to create this kind of a game, there are basically two ways to create this game, because in this game, the player, you have two concepts. You can create two types of algorithm for it. You can either make the track moving backward, or you can either make the place the track as a static rigid body, or you can transform the shape on the z-axis in the positive direction of z-axis, or you can do just opposite. You can just make a rigid you just constrain the movements of the shape and just move the track in the negative direction of the z-axis. So basically we are going to apply that second one. We are because it is more easy and it is more understandable. And so basically what we are going to do is this. Suppose this is our player, right? So let's first make it face in the positive direction of the z-axis. So just rotate it on the y-axis to 180 degree directly, and as you can see, now it is facing in the positive direction of the z-axis. So with that said guys, what we are going to do is we are going to create a control where a shape is only moving in the x-axis if it is in the negative direction of the x-axis and the positive direction of the x-axis. So as you can see guys, this would be the player control, and if you want to see what would be the control of the track, you can see it is going to go backward. So as you can see, if you take a close look, in the game. So let's take a look on the game manually. So what you have to do is just click on that camera, and if you want to set the view of the camera as you want, so what you have to do is just click on that camera and just press Ctrl Shift F. So it is going to now snap the camera's position to that of the scene position. So now as you can see, the camera has been snapped to the position of the scene. So what you have to do right now is just see what happens. So as you can see, the controls of the player is going to be this way, working this way in the direction of x-axis and y, in positive x and negative x-axis, and the track is going to go backward. So as you can see, if you just imagine the concept, it is going to look same, right guys, whether it be ship moving forward or whether it be track going backward. It's all just same, guys. So let's do the second one. So with that said, guys, to create the controls, to create some of the controls for our spaceship to move on the positive and negative x-axis, what you have to do is you have to create a C# script, right guys? So go inside that asset, go inside that project tab, and just go inside that folder, come outside of the other folders, click on that asset folder and just create a new folder, name it as scripts. So inside the scripts folder, we are going to place all our scripts of the game. So let's create our very first script in C#. So go inside of that script folder and right click there, and then just hit that create tab and just go inside and click on that C# script, guys. So just name our C# script as player controller, or you can have any kind of a name. This is going to be a player controller script. So now just press enter and double click on that script. But before that, guys, we need to set up our editor to edit the script, guys. So what you have to do is just go inside that edit and go to the preferences tab. Just click on the preferences tab and go and click on that external tools. In that external tools, your external script editor should be Visual Studio, guys. Instead, if it is not Visual Studio, then you can have any other other editors as well. But in my laptop, in my PC, my system, I have installed Visual Studio 2019. So I am going to use Visual Studio 2019 as my text editor, or you can say the script editor. So with that said, guys, so let's go and edit the script. If we double click on that script, the editor is going to open up. So guys, with that said, now if you look in this script, we have got one class name as player controller. So when we create a C# script, our script is going to create a class inside of it, which is going to be name same as our script name. So our script name, if we suppose by chance change our script name to player C, or you can say the player controller system, so then you have to change the name as well, the class name as well, or else it is going to throw error over the console. So if you do that, what you have to do is just rename this player controller as well and name it as same as the script name, guys. So what now let's take a look over these two functions which are already created. So both functions are just called when Unity starts, right? So when the game starts, so when game begins, the start function is going to run for one time, and then after running that start function, it is going to go inside of the update function, and it is going to be called every frame, guys. So it is not going to stop, it is called in every frame, guys, so that it is a kind of an update. You can think of it as an update, and it is going to run non-stoply inside the game, guys. And this is our main player in the script. So now with that said, guys, our logic was to transform our shape from the positive and negative x-axis. So guys, to create the controls of the shape, what you have to do is you need to add a transform speed for our spaceship, right guys? So the speed would determine with how much amount of speed would be required for the spaceship to transform in the positive and negative x direction after pressing the directional keys, right guys? So what you have to do is just create a variable. first what you have to do, since you are creating a variable in a class, directly in a class, you are not creating a variable in a function, which we used to create like this, right? Integer x equals to 10. Since we are creating it in a class, you need to have a specifier, access specifier, or you can say the access modifier beside that. If you don't just give a access modifier name, it is by default going to be a private, so that this variable is not going to be inherited in other classes which you create, guys. So if I don't give any kind of access specifier name, it is by default going to be a private. So let's add a float, because a speed can be in the float, that is 2.5, 3.1, 3. There is a no exact value, guys. All right, so let's not make it integer and rather make it a float, and name the variable name as a move speed, and just get a default value to 0f semicolon. Let's end the with a semicolon. So with that, guys, the variable has been specified, has been created, guys, right? So once the variable has been created, come back to the Unity editor and see what happens. So as you can see, guys, what you have to do is to make this to make the script have any kind of an effect over the shape, what you have to do is you need to add that script inside of that. So click on that add component button and then search for. So guys, after you hit on that add component button, you need to search for the script name, which is player controller, guys. So just you are going to get the result and just press enter. After pressing enter, as you can see, you can't edit the move speed of the spaceship. If you can't edit the speed of the spaceship, you have to hard code it, but it won't be good if it won't be that flexible if you make it hard coded, right, guys? So to make it appear those variables right inside that what you can say inspector, so what you have to do is you have to go to the script again and add a public beside it, beside the float, beside the variable name. And public is also a type of access specifier, which makes it publicly access to all of the inherited class, all of the classes which are inherited from the player controller, guys. So what you have to do right now is, as you just go back to the Unity editor, and you are going to see a move speed which could be editable, guys. So yeah, it is not working because I have not saved the script. So you have to press Ctrl S to save the script and go back to the Unity editor. And if you see that now the move speed is ready to edit, and if you want to create this variable a private one, so what you have to do is just directly add a serialized field keyword. So if you add this serialized keyword, what it is going to do is it is not going to make the variable public, but rather it is going to stay private, and it wouldn't be able to access it from the another class, but it is still going to stay private, and you are still going to you would be able to edit that value in the inspector tab, guys. So as you can see, we can still change the value to 12, or you can say let's make it 12.5. so now the move speed variable is been editable over the inspector, guys. So with that said, guys, we are ready to use our move speed variable. So to first use the move speed variable, what you have to do is we need to set up a control, guys. So what you can do is, if you want so what, guys, we have to do right now is, if a player presses D key, the ship should go to the right side, guys, right side. It should follow it should transform towards the positive X direction. And if the player presses the key A over the keyboard, then the shape should transform to the negative direction of the X axis. So to do that, what you have to do is you need to give a specific command, guys. So we are going to use an if else loop inside conditional statement inside of the update function, guys. So what you have to do right now is, guys, just print so type in the if statement, if keyword, and then inside of that parenthesis you have to add a conditional boolean conditional statement, guys. So what you have to do is, if so to access the input system of the player of the keyboard, what you have to do is type in input keyword input dot get button down, or you can say the get button. And get button would be a best function to use. And now you have to just click on that dot get button, and within the parenthesis you have to type in double inverted commas A, or you can say D, since we want to transform it in the positive X direction. So with that said, guys, create a scope for that. And now if you see if the player presses this D, if the player presses this D key, the shape is going to transform in the positive X direction. So we are going to write the code for to transform it in the positive X direction. So to do that, what you have to do inside the script is you need to access this inspector transform component inside of it, right guys? So if you want to access so that you can change the value of the position using the script, guys. So to access that, what you have to do is type in game object. If you type game object, then what the player controller script is going to do is it is going to create a reference to the game object to which the player controller script has been attached to, guys, and then it is going to get component, or you can say directly add a transform. It is going to get the component name transform, and then let's not make it transform, but rather make it translate. So what a translate function going to do is translate transform.translate. Okay, transform, guys, just access the transform and then add the translate function, and inside of that scope parenthesis, what you have to do is we need to move it in the positive X direction, guys, right? So since it is a vector, guys, right? In the game development, in the entire game development industry, vectors has got a very much importance. The space, the position is been identified using the vector system, guys. So in this, the vector would be we need to transform our shape over the positive X direction. So what we are going to do is vector 3 dot right. As I told you earlier, guys, for the you can also say the X axis as the right axis, guys, in the Unity game development engine, in the Unity engine, guys. So what you have to do right now is just write in the keyword vector 3 dot right and then multiply the value with the mouse speed. So our so now it is going to increase the speed with respect to our mouse speed variable, guys. And to do that smoothly, guys, what you have to do is we need to translate this object, this spaceship, using the current time, guys, using the frame rate. So to use the frame rates, guys, what you have to do is type in the function type in the keyword time dot delta time. So this is going to multiply it using the current seconds. Yeah, it is going to multiply it using the frame rate, guys. So delta time is nothing but a frame rate inside the Unity, and then if you multiply that with this, then it is going to translate, or you can say transform to the positive X direction smoothly, guys. So with that said, guys, let's print Control S and go inside the Unity and editor, and let's see what happens. So once I hit on that play button and I press the D key, nothing happens because input button D is not set up. So we have got something wrong, guys. So what you have to do right now is we need to set up those buttons, right, guys? So what you have to do is go into the edit project settings, go inside of the input tab. Okay, here is the input manager, and as you can see, the manager has got some kind of the buttons, right? So what you have to do is we need to add a button for the moment, guys. So what you have to do right now is increase the size to 19, guys, and if I make it 18 to 19, it is going to create one more space for our button. So it is going to duplicate this cancel, guys, and so what we have to do is just click on that cancel and make it as move right, guys. So we are going to make it move right, and going to positive button would be our D key, right, guys? So D would be our positive button. So now with that said, guys, what you have to do is alt positive button would be joystick button 1. So we don't have to set up any other keys, guys, and now we are ready to we have set up our input manager, guys. So now go back to the script, and instead of D here, write move right, guys, because this is the key to access that input functionality, right? So now with that said, guys, go to the Unity editor, just close this tab and just hit the play button, and if you would see right now, we have got no error, guys, in the console. So if you press the D key, it is moving in the right direction, guys. Since our camera is not facing okay, it is facing in the proper direction. So what's the problem, guys? Yeah, okay, as you can see, guys, our ship instead of moving in the positive direction, it is moving in the negative direction, because it is not moving globally, guys, it is moving locally. If you remember, we just rotated our spaceship to 180 degree over the x-axis. So as you can see, according to the ship, the x-axis is in the negative direction, right guys? Negative direction of the, where the negative direction starts for the track, where the axis is negative for the x-axis for the track, that is the positive, that starts the positive axis for the x of the spaceship, guys. So what you have to do for that is just, instead of making it plus vector 3 dot right, just add a minus to it, add a minus before it, and then with that said guys, it is going to work as we imagined, guys. So if we just hit that play button, and if we press the D key, it is going to move, it is going to translate over the x-axis, guys. So as you can see, the controls are working. So now we have to set up the same kind of controller for the another button. So to do that, what you have to do is go to the edit and go to the project settings and go to the input manager, and need to add one more input, guys. So what you have to do is, instead of 20, instead of 19, increase the size to 20, and the move right is going to be duplicated, guys. So as you can see, guys, a move right is duplicated. Just rename it to move left, and instead of this positive key D, positive button D, what you have to do is enter A. So now our setup for the left movement is been ready. So what you have to do is go back in the script and create an else if ladder. So else if, we are going to type in the word else if, and if input dot get button move left, then what you have to do is game object dot transform dot translate in the positive direction, because it is working opposite, guys, as we saw earlier. So just multiply it with the move speed and multiply it again with the time dot delta time, guys. So as you can see, our ship is going to move over the positive and negative x-axis, guys. So with that said, guys, the control of the ships are ready to use. So you can make some adjustment to increase the speed of the ship, guys. So what I'm going to do right now is just increase the speed to 18, guys, and now if we see the controls, it is going to work more smoothly, guys. So as you can see, the speed has been increased to 18 from 12.5, and the ship is more flexible, and it is more easy to move the ship over the positive and negative direction of the x-axis, guys. So in the next lecture, what we are going to do is we are going to take a look over the, to create an endless world for our game, guys. To create this endless track, guys. So as you can see, if the ship is going to translate over the positive direction of the z-axis, it is going to end at certain point, guys, right? So now what we are going to do is we are going to develop an algorithm in the next lecture so that the track never ends, guys. To create an algorithm for the endless world, which I told you in the previous lecture. So let's get started. So to create that algorithm to create an endless world, let's understand the basic concept behind the behind this logic, or you can say behind this algorithm, basic concept of the algorithm. Let's understand this algorithm, what we are going to build. So as I told you earlier, we are not going to transform our spaceship in the forward direction, but rather what we are going to do is we are going to transform our track in the backward direction, guys. So what you have to do for that is just now what we have to do is when a certain track is reaches the certain distance, then we are going to just delete this track which is in the scene, guys. So what you have to do for that is just bring back this transform to the 0, and just let's create a duplicate track for it, and then let's make a transform to 200, guys. Okay, so let's create one more track for a better understanding. After creating this track, let's create an empty game object. So hit on that create empty and name it as track handler. So we name it as a track handler, and then just make the transform to 0. So click on that reset button. So now what you have to do is create a parent-child relationship. So just bring all this track inside of this track handler and just sort this all in an ascending order, guys. And then after doing this, what you are going to observe is we are going to move this track handler backside in the negative forward in the negative direction of x-axis. So once it reaches to minus 200, we are going to delete our first track, which is this one. We are going to delete this from the game editor. We are going to delete it, and we are going to add another track in the forward direction of the x-axis in this last position, guys. So as you can see, we are going to add one more track. Once we are going to delete the previous one and we are going to add a new one track, guys. So this is how our mechanism is going to work inside of the Unity. So to do that, just follow me, guys, and we are ready to go. So let's just activate this game object again. Now we have created this track handler game object. What you have to do is create a script for that track handler, guys. So what you have to do is go inside of that script folder and create a C# script. So create a C# script and name it as track handler, guys. Okay, track handler. Our script name will be track handler, and just double click and open it up. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a variable to determine to assign a speed of the track, how fast the track is going to move in the negative x direction, guys. So what you have to do is just create a serialized field. We are not going to we are not going to make it public. We are not going to make our move speed variable public. So let's add a serialized field keyword and make our speed and assign it a default value as 0, guys. So what we are going to do is, as the update functions work, as the game starts, we are going to transform.translate, guys, our game object, our track handler in the negative direction of x-axis. So to do that, guys, so okay guys, so to transform it in the negative x direction, what we are going to write a keyword is game object or transform.translate, and then just add a parenthesis and enter vector 3 dot forward, because for the x-axis we just say it a forward direction, or you can say the forward axis, right? So what you have to do is just multiply time.delta with the time.delta time and a move speed. And after doing that, what you have to do is, since we don't want to translate it in the positive direction of the z-axis, we need to translate in the backward direction, that is forward direction, negative, in the negative side of the forward direction. What you have to do is just add a minus sign in front of the vector 3 dot forward. So just save the script and let's take a look what is going to happen with the track handler. So now what we are going to do is we need to add the script to the track handler. So add component, and the script name is the track handler, guys. So after adding the track handler script, we need to add it our move speed from 0 to, let's make it to around 18, guys. So once we do it to 18, what we are going to observe is, as we play this play button, what we are going to observe is the track is going to start moving. As you can see, we can think of the we can observe that, or you can even say that the track is moving in the backward direction, or you can even say that the shape is going in the forward direction. So with that said, guys, as you can see, the script has been working properly, is working fine. But one thing which we need to do is we need to place our camera properly, because the camera is not centerized. So what you have to do is what you have to do is just create a parent-child relationship between spaceship and camera. So let the spaceship be parent of the camera, guys. So what you have to do right now is just unpack the prefab completely so we can make some changes, and we can just sort things up. So now what you have to do is spaceship mesh. This is not required to do, but I do it for the better understanding purpose. So there is no restriction for you to do that or not, but I don't like messy things, so I just do it. So this is how we do it. And now the spaceship has got no prefab. So what we are going to do is we are going to go into the prefab folder, and we are going to delete this current spaceship prefab, and then just again drag that spaceship and into the prefab. So now with that said, guys, the spaceship is working fine, and you are going to transform. As you can see, the camera, the spaceship game object is the camera, is the parent of the camera. So what you have to do is just bring it back to the center, guys. So from -17 we have to make it 0 in the x-axis, and as you can see, guys, it is now in the center. The camera is in the center. So now if we observe the movement of the track, it is going to work fine, guys. So if we move our ship in the left and right direction, you can see it is moving fine, guys. It is working properly. So with our script working fine, what you have to do is now just create a delete and add prefab functionality in our script, which is the track handler. So what you have to do is just right now create some duplicate tracks over the hierarchy. Let's make 3 duplicate tracks and just transform it to I guess first track is only 200 guys, so let's first make it to the 0. Second one should be the 200, and the third one should be, that is third one should be at the 400 guys, because the distance of one track, the length of the one track is around 200 guys. So the direction would be plus 200, so make it 600. So now as you can see, our track has been created. Fine guys, so just make it 600 again. I just made a mistake. Okay, now as you can see, our track is ready, our track handler is ready, and the shape is not ready right now, but because we need to get it back, as you can see it's working fine. It is on the minus 200 direction, so make it in the 0, make it come to the 0, and now as you can see the track is working fine. So what we have to do in the current algorithm is, once this track handler reaches to the minus 200, it is going to delete the first track, which is this one, and it is going to add a new track into to the here after 3, right? So what you have to do for that is, you need to create so to add a track, what you have to do is, to add a track you need to create a you need to add a prefab variable, right? So before that, let's first work on the delete functionality of the track. So once it reaches 200, it is going to delete it. So for that the logic would be, let's go to the script, open the editor, and just go inside that editor, and if go and access the transform of the z-axis, so transform position of the z-axis. So game object dot transform dot position dot z modulus 200 equals 0, then just destroy function is actually used to destroy the game object. So we are going to destroy the first child of the track handler. So first child, to delete the first child of the track handler, you have to type in the word game object, then go to the transform dot get child 0, because we need to delete the child 0 dot game object. Since we want to delete the game object, you have to write again the game object. So what it is going to basically do is, it is going to access the track handler game object, and it is going to get the first child, which is at the 0th index. It is going to take on the first child and bring that, and going to get a reference to its game object, that is the track, and then it is going to destroy it. So while playing, and if it reaches, or you can say, let's not make it modulus 200, let's make it less than minus 200, it is going to delete the track for us, right guys? So now with that said, if we just go and play, or you can say less than or equal to minus 200, it is going to delete the first child, guys. So if we play the script now, if we play the editor game now, we are going to, okay, it is maximize screen, so we are not going to observe the changes. So what you can do is get back, just click on this maximize on play to off, and just play the game again. So if you see, the track is moving in the negative direction of the z-axis, and as you can see, the transform here is changing again and again. So it is now minus in the minus hundreds range. Now it is going to soon going to, okay, as you can see, every track has been deleted, because what we did was, we didn't increase it to minus 200 to minus 400, because what was happening was, once it reaches the minus 200, it is again going to move forward and forward and forward in the negative direction. It is not going to stay minus 200, because it is going continuously in the backward direction. So what it does is, it is going to delete this first track as it is, if it reaches the minus 200 or not. If it reaches the minus 200, it is going to delete this track, and then since other track since the direction is increasing, it is going to delete track 1, track 2 and track 3 also, because the logic here, the distance here is not changing, guys. So what you have to do for that is, just create a private variable and let it be a float, guys, and just add it a distance of deletion. Make a variable, type in the variable name as distance of deletion. So with that said, guys, let's hard code the value to minus 200f, and now our distance of deletion has been set to minus 200, guys. So what you have to do, instead of minus 200 in the if condition statement, what you have to do is just type in this variable name, which is distance of deletion, and then once we delete the object, we need to decrease the distance of deletion with again minus 200. So to do that, what you have to do is type in the distance of deletion key, that variable name, and then press an equal to sign over here, and then again type in the distance of deletion and minus 200. And if we minus and minus two values, because this is already minus, and if we again add a minus, it is going to add up and add a negative sign, so it will become minus 400, guys. So now if we check that logic work, it is going to work fine, guys. So if we now play the game and observe what changes have been made here, so as you can see, okay, let me do it again because the track was not in the origin. So now let's get started with it. Let's hit the play button and see what happens. So as you can see, track is moving in the negative direction of the z-axis slowly, and once it reaches the minus 200, this track is going to be deleted. As you can see, track is deleted. Now we have got only 3 tracks, and once it reaches 400, it's going to delete this track also, which is first track. So with that said, guys, it also again deletes the track 1, and now it is going to delete track 2 at the 600 minus 600. So as you can see, guys, it is moving slowly and it is going to delete the track 2. As you can see, guys, the track 2 is also deleted. So our functionality for deletion of the track is working fine, guys. So now what you have to do is we need a functionality to add a track after deleting it, right, guys? So what you have to do for that is you need to go for the script, go inside the script and create a reference to the track, because we want to spawn a track which is similar to this, guys. So what you have to do is we need to take a reference, guys, of the track from the prefab, guys. So to do that, what you have to do is create a variable of type game object, guys. So as you can see, we need to create a variable of type game object. So guys, let's name our variable as track prefab. So after naming a variable as track prefab, we are going to take a look over this hierarchy, what changes we are going to observe over the hierarchy. So as we can see, if I click on that track handler game object, we are going to see that we are getting one more variable's name, which is track prefab, which is of type game object. So what you have to do, guys, is you need to go to the prefab folder and need to just drag that track prefab over that. So now as you can see, we have assigned the value to the track prefab variable. So now with that done, guys, what we have to do is we are going to add a logic for the addition of the new track. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to get a reference of the last track, guys. So we need to take a reference of the last track in which is inside the track handler. So to do that, what we have to do is we need to go inside of it. We get a game object or transform dot position. We need to get the transform and then get the last child of it, right, guys? So what you have to do is just go to the get child function, and then inside of that function type in game object or transform dot child count, guys. So with using the child count, we are going to get the total number of child the game object is going to have -1. So suppose it is going to have 3, if it is having this 4 game objects, right? So the length would be 4 childs, because it has got track 1, track 2 and track 3 as the child of it. So what it is going to give us if we press the get child is it is going to get the total number of count, but the indexing starts from the 0, so we are going to we are going to decrement it by 1. So with that said, guys, what we are going to do is we got the reference of the last child, guys. So what we have to do is we need to instantiate, we need to create one more game object, guys. So to do that, guys, what you have to do is type in the function name instantiate, and inside of that function, first parameter says we need a prefab reference. So we are going to create a track prefab reference variables reference. We got the variables reference, and for the position, second parameter is for the transform, which is position. So the position of the track is going to be let's make it to vector 0. So vector 3.0, if we type in vector 3.0, it is going to get to 0 position, it is going to get to the origin. So with that said, guys, we are going to we should also add the quaternion, which is the angle, which is the rotation. The what would be the rotation of the track? So let's make it identity. Let's make it 0. So quaternion dot identity would be the rotation values of that particular track. So with that said, guys, we are going to create one more reference to this instantiate. So we are going to create, since it is instantiating a prefab, the return type of this instantiate function is a game object. So we are going to create a variable name as variable type of game object and name it as temp, because this would be a temporary variable which is just inside this function, which is inside this conditional statement. So what we are going to do right now is we got the reference of the temp variable, so we need to transform its z position to the final position of the last track plus 200, guys. So what we are basically going to do is we are going to change the transform position of this temporary object which is a new track. So what we have to do is we need to access the position. So transform dot position equals to, because the transform position is of type vector, what we have to do is we need to create a new variable vector 3, and then we have to assign it a value. So that's because it is on the x, for the x-axis its value is 0, for the y is 0, for the z it is going to change because we need to add a track over the position of the last prefab, over the position of the last track. So what we are going to do is we are going to reference that last track, which is game object dot transform dot get child. So which is going to be game object dot transform dot get child count. So it is going to be child count -1, guys. So with that said, guys, we are going to get a reference to the game object, which we are going to get the reference to the last track, which is inside the track handler, and then we are going to get a transform position of the z. So transform dot position dot z plus 200. So with that said, guys, let's see what happens with this set of codes, with this set of instructions. So with that, we are going to save the script and go inside the Unity editor and let's see what happens. So now if we put on we hit the play button and observe what the changes, as you can see, the track is moving backward in the slowly, and the transform is decreasing, and once it reaches 200 minus 200, it is going to be lit and add a new track. So as you can see, a clone track has been added, guys. So but it is not moving with the track, because what has happened is it did spawn the new track, but it is not moving because it is not the child. It has got no relationship. So suppose if I make a child of that track handler, it is going to move. So that's it, guys. This is the only thing which is remaining. So to do this update, what you have to do inside the script is we need to take a reference of this temporary transform, which is a new track, transform.parent. We need to set its parent as game object, because our track handler is the game object, current game object. So this game object is going to get the reference. So this game object keyword is going to get the reference of this current game object the track handler has been attached to. And with that said, guys, we are going to get a transform, because the transform is the only thing which it is attached. So the temporary variable, or you can say the new track's transform, is the child of this current track handler game object, guys. So with that said, let's save the script and go to the editor and see what are the changes made, that if the changes made are working successfully. So if we hit the play button and observe the changes, then we are going to see that track is again moving in a negative direction of the z-axis, and the value is decreasing slowly, not slowly, but it's pretty good. Okay, the new track has been added, and as you can see, the track is again the child, now is the child of the track handler, and it is again moving, guys. And this loop is going to be going on and on. It has got no end, guys. So as you can see, the track is moving properly. It has been attached to the other track, to the track handler properly, and our script is working fine. So with that said, guys, we have created an endless world algorithm. This is your own algorithm. This is your own algorithm which you created right now. So create an algorithm for generating some random obstacles over the track. So to do that, you need to create a simple script known as obstacle handler, or name it anything you like. So after creating the script, just open that by double clicking on that script, and once you double click, you are going to open up the cs file .cs file. So now let's get started with our coding part. So what you have to do at general, so let's understand the basic concept behind the algorithm of the of creating some obstacles over the track. So what you have to do is, first of all, since we want to create some obstacles within this track, what you have to do is, since we want to randomly generate the positions of randomly generate some obstacles while playing the game, while the runtime of the editor, what you have to do is we need some basic coordinates, or you can say some values in which we have to generate those obstacles. So what you have to do is, at first, just create one single obstacle. So let's create an obstacle using cube. Reset the position of the cube which is created in the hierarchy. Now let's scale the size of the obstacle, or you can say the cube. So first let's name it as obstacle. After naming it as obstacle, what you have to do is just scale it. So I would like to scale it manually. So in the x-axis I would like to have my value as 5, and in the y-axis I would like to have it a value of 15. I guess it looks more standard. Then at the z-axis I would like to have 5 again. So now as you can see, we have generated an obstacle just right there. What we have to do right now is just make a color to it. So let's try to add a different color, since the default material can't be edited. So what you have to do is we need to create another material. So let's go outside in the asset folder and create another folder name as material. Okay, so with that done, guys, what you have to do is just go to the create tab and just create that material. Click on that material button. So after you click on that material button, a material is going to be generated. Name it as obstacle underscore 1, because we are going to create some different kinds of obstacle. So, or you can say, let's not try to create some other obstacles, but yeah, let's create a single obstacle. So name it as obstacle. So obstacle. So now we have to color it as, I guess, whatever color you like, but it should be seen by the player. When player is playing the game, he should feel comfortable while to see those obstacles coming on his way. So what you have to do is you can add any of the color to it. So I would like to have my obstacle as orange. So I'm just setting my albedo color to orange, and then I would just drag that color over the object. So as you can see, the material has been changed to orange, or you can see the obstacle. Now what you have to do is we need to create that prefab of that obstacle. So what you have to do is just go to the prefab folder and create an obstacle prefab. So just drag it over the folder, and as you can see, the prefab has been generated of the obstacle game object. So now what you have to do is, now let's measure the width of the track. So we can measure it using this obstacle. As you can see, on x-axis it is standing at 0, on z also it's standing at 0. So what you have to do is just drag on the x and see what is the width of the track. So as you can see, guys, it's actually around 50, right? Minus 52 plus 50. So what we can do is we can generate till here. We can generate a random obstacle till here on the x-axis. As you can see, I would take minus 45 to 45 as a border, and then let's try to take the length of the track. So as you can see, the size of the track was around 200. So as you can see, it is going to be 100 and minus 100. So our range on the z-axis is going to be minus 100 to 100, and on x it is going to be minus 45 to 45. So now we have got the range. What you have to do is, now let's go to the script of the name as script obstacle handler. So now what you have to do is create a variable game object of type game object and name it as obstacle prefab. So now this prefab, this game object is going to get a value of that obstacle which we created earlier of the orange color. So what we are going to do is just we would go into the editor and then just drag the prefab over the script. So now with that said, guys, what you have to do is, now the logic is simple. We have to generate some random obstacles over the range, right, guys? In the x it is the range should be minus 45 to 45, and on the z-axis it should be minus 100 to 100, guys. So what you have to do is just to do that, we should have a certain amount of range for number of obstacles also, like we would generate some in one track it should be around 20, in other track it should be around 25, and again in the one track it should be around it should be around 10. So what you have to do is just create a for loop, basic for loop. I'm going to define this integer 0 I as 0, and then I should be less than random dot range. So guys, random dot range is a function which helps you to create or generate some random integer between the range. So range is a function, random is a class. After calling the random, random is a class. We are going to call the static function which is range, and in that range we are going to assign two variables to it. So it is going to be the first lower limit and the upper limit. So lower limit should be 10. So in every track the minimum amount of obstacles which it should consist is around 10. It should be 10, and it should be greater than or equal to 10, and then maximum amount should be 30. So as you can see, the obstacles would be generated around the number of the obstacles would be in the range 10 to 30. So with that said guys, let's complete our for loop by incrementing the value of I, and then create the scope of the for loop. So to generate an obstacle during the runtime, what you have to do is just type in the game object, because let's create a variable which is going to be game object j, and then let's name it as temp, which stands for temporary, and then set an equal to sign. Now let's call a function known as instantiate. So instantiate functions help you to generate the obstacles while in the runtime of the editor, or you can say while playing the game, it generates the game object. So what you have to do is to instantiate function work perfectly fine during the game, what you have to do is we need to call assign some or what we can say that parameters, or you can say the arguments, because instantiate is a function with an argument which it requires argument known which are first argument which is required is a game object, or the obstacle which has to be generated during the runtime. So our obstacle prefab would come here, and then we need to give it some transform, or you can say the position. So let's create a vector3 variable, and then new class a vector3 and transform. So let's create it for a position. So what you can do is just transform, because we know the range of the range on the x-axis. What we are going to do, because since vector3 is comprises of three values x, y, and z, what you have to do is you need to create that range, right? So random dot range on the x-axis, it should be around 45 to minus 45 to 45, right guys? Because we just checked our range of the x-axis of the track, right? So it was around minus 45 to 45, and for the y-axis, let's make it I guess 4. So it would be placed on the 4 on the y-axis. The value of the obstacle over the y-axis would be 4, and then again let's set a range for the z-axis also. So as you can see guys, we have generated the range for the x-axis. We are similarly going to set the range for the y-axis, sorry, z-axis. So what you have to do is just transform dot position dot z minus 100 and comma transform dot position dot z plus 100. So now what it is going to do guys is that it is going to suppose a track, it is of a length 200, right guys? So minus 100 to 100 is going to be our range. In that range it is going to instantiate some obstacles, right guys? So why did I use transform dot position dot z? So because track is not on the origin of the time, track is moving, right guys? So track's position is not same. So what we are actually doing is we are just normalizing the values of those position of that position on the z-axis. So with that done guys, what we have to do at last is we need to set some angle, right guys? So angle should be quaternion dot identity for now, and in later I would help you to generate some random rotation of those obstacles. So with that said guys, we are done with our main logic, or you can say the main algorithm for creating for generating those obstacles while playing the game. With that said guys, what we have to do right now is that temporary game object, right? So if this temporary game object is going to be instantiated directly over the hierarchy guys. So you won't understand it like this. So let's do it practically. Now we are done with our main logic. What we have to do is just save the script and go to the editor. And after I go to the editor, script is going to get compiled. After it gets compiled, let's first delete this obstacle which is right here. And as you can as you know guys, we have we have created a prefab of our obstacle, so no need to worry about it. So go to the track and add the script known as obstacle handler. So with that said guys, we need to assign a variable, or you can say a value for the obstacle prefab variable. So our value would be this game object right there, which is a prefab. I drag that value on the four of the tracks, and then what you have to do is just take this one track and just override it to apply the changes to the prefab of the track. So with that said guys, let's save the what we can say the progress, and then let's hit the play button. After I hit the play button, you can observe the obstacles have been generated randomly over the track, but there are some issues with the game because the game is not working. So as you can see over the console, we have got some errors. So what are these errors guys? So as you can see, has not been assigned the variable obstacle prefab of obstacle handler has not been assigned. You probably need to assign the obstacle prefab variable of the obstacles handler script in the inspector. Okay guys, so the track is moving, by the way. Now the track is moving. So as you can see guys, the problem which we were getting is the obstacles. As you can see, obstacles are not moving with the track, but the track is still moving guys. As you can see, the track is moving because I have selected one of the track. It seems to be moving, but if I don't select any track, it doesn't look like it is moving, right? That's because of the colors and the symmetricity. So if you go back and look at if you go far away from the track and look in the scene, you can see the track is moving, but the obstacles are not moving, right? So what you have to do for this is you need to create a parent-child relationship. You need a parent for this obstacle, and the parent would be our track guys, because track is only moving guys. So what you can do is just go back, stop the editor playing the game, and then go to the script, and then again let's create a parent-child relationship. So to create such parent-child relationship, what you have to do is just take this temporary variable and call a transform. So temp.transform.parent, let's set this parents to game object.transform. So our game object, the current game object, which is a track, is going to be the parent of this temporary variable, or you can say the obstacle, which we are generating during the runtime of the editor, right guys? So with that done guys, let's save the script and then go back to the editor, and let's try to play the script and see what changes have been occurred while we change the script. So as you can see, obstacles are moving because they have been attached to the track. As you can see guys, the obstacles have been the child of the parent track. So no need to worry, because since it is a parent, the track is a parent of those obstacles. The obstacles are going to move with those track guys. So as you can see, the tracks are moving and the obstacles are also getting deleted with the parent deleted. So if a parent gets deleted in the scene or hierarchy, the obstacles, because those are the child of that parent, they are also going to get deleted guys. So as you can see, the algorithm is working fine, no need to worry about it. But what is this error guys? So what is this error? What is the error? Why is this error being caused guys? So you probably need to assign the obstacle variable of the obstacle script in the inspector guys. So the sin here is we are not assigning value to the obstacle prefab guys. This is what the error has been generated for. So what you have to do guys is, yeah, since track 1, track 2 and track 3 has got no values, or you can say there are 3 scripts simultaneously attached to this tracks guys. So this is where the problem has been caused guys. So what you have to do is just remove the scripts. Okay, just remove components. And with that said guys, as you can see, the value, there were 3 same scripts attached to this game object, so the error was causing. And with that guys, the main reason for causing of the error is that obstacle prefab was not assigned to this tracks guys. So let's assign it again. So as you can see, all of this track has got obstacle handler script once, and all of those script has got the obstacle prefabs value, or you can say the value which is the obstacle prefab, guys. So as you can see, we are done with our error, and there won't be any error causing while the runtime of the editor. So as you can see, guys, console is not generating any error because there are no errors. So as you can see, there are 000 errors. So I forgot to tell you about the console. What is a console? Console actually helps you to create. It is actually used for the debugging purpose, and it helps you to see whether you have caused an error while writing a script or not. So the first one is a debug one. So you can create a debug for testification, or you can say for testifying things. And then the second is warning, which is actually generated by the editor itself. And but the warnings are not essential to solve, but it is good if you have zero warnings, because the game is more stable, guys. So warnings are not that problematic, but the errors are the problematic thing, because they stop the compilation of the code further. Error causes a code to not run further, because when an error occurs during the runtime, or you can say while executing a statement, or you can say a line of code, it stops that because it does not know where to go next, because error has been generated. So errors are essential to solve, and this warning is error, both of them are actually created, or you can say are being thrown by the editor itself. But you can also throw them by yourself if you want some restrictions while writing the scripts, guys. So as you can see, our game is running smooth. Our obstacles, this what we can say logic, or you can say the algorithm is working fine. And since we are now able to create some random obstacles using that obstacle handler script, now we are ready to go to the next level, which is to design some VFX, or you can say the particle system for the ship exhaust, so that it looks like the ship is moving. So we are going to design that the exhaust of our ship. This video, I'm going to explain you how to create a simple VFX. So as you could see, we have used this VFX into our spaceship and the game one, which is the dimension X. So let's see how we have to create it. So what you have to basically do is, first thing is you can use a new scene to create a demo of that particle system, or you could say VFX, or you could start implementing that particle system inside of that game as well. So no need to worry about it. So let's get started. So first thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to right click over to the hierarchy, and then I'm going to go over to the effects, and then I'm going to select this particle system. So now what you have to basically do is reset the transform of that particle system, and then just double click over it so that we could focus over that particle system inside of the screen. And then what we have to do now is, as you can see, there are several let's say variables of those particle system. This particle system is again a component. So take a look over it. So we are exactly going to design the same particle effect which is present over in our spaceship video. So let's try to make it that way. So what we have to basically do is uh, this is the duration. It would decide how much time it would be taking to complete the effect. So I will just make it 1 second, and then what we have to do is, as you can see, there is an option for looping. If you just turn off this looping, it is not going to loop, and it is going to stop after 1 second. So as you could see, it is only going to work for that particular amount of time. And then there is a start delay. So start delay basically determines what should be the delay time for to get the particle system activated. So if I make it 5, it is going to start after 5 seconds. So this is the playback time. As you could see, after 5 seconds we are going to observe the effects coming out. So as you could see, this is working fine. So I don't want any type of start delay, and I want to let my particle system loop. So I'm just going to check on this looping checkbox, and then we are going to take a look over the start lifetime. So start lifetime is basically the lifetime. It is the value which determines the lifetime of each and every particle over here, which is present over here. So as you can see, if I make it 1, every particle is going to survive for 1 second. So as you can see, after 1 second they are going to die. If I make it 5 seconds, it is going to take a long time. They are going to die after 5 seconds.
So basically I want them to die within 1 second. And below that we have got start speed. Start speed is going to basically determine the speed of those particles. So if I am going to increase this to 10, they are going to run faster, and they are of course going to travel longer because the speed is increased and they are going to survive for 1 second. So after increasing the speed, what I have to basically do is go inside. Okay, let's take a look over to the 3D stat size. So basically we are not using a mesh over here inside of the particle system, but rather we are using our simple lit material. So how to create a lit material? So to for if you are designing a VFX which is basically using texture, then what you have to do is come over to the project this thing and just click over it. Okay, and for some reason I'm not able to make it. So what you have to basically do is uh, go over here and create, and then go over here and hit on this material. Then I'm going to make it name it as lit. Then just go over to the here, and then we are going to basically, because I'm using this universal render pack, and you don't have to basically use this is my project. So what you have to do is you have to go for the mobile particles, and then you have to select any one of four. Or you could basically do is what you go to the particles directly and use surface or standard unbreak. Okay, this is what you are going to do, and then just what you have to do is just drag on an image to it. So since I'm using universal render pipeline, I am going to use this one, lit. So what we have to do right now is just drag on an image over here, right there. Here we have this image, and what I am going to do is I am going to make it transparent so it cuts off those black part, and then I am going to, okay, cool. I am going to add some emission to the effect, and then I'm going to add an emission which is of orange color. Then what you have to do is just drag this select material over to this particle system. As you can see, the image has been changed to orange. So this is how you are going to change the renderer. Or if you want to just change it manually, what you could basically do is change the material from here directly. So now next thing which we are going to look at is the start size. Start size is going to determine what will be the size of that particle, single particle. So I'm going to make a randomization between two values. So first value would be zero point 0.2 and another would be zero point 0.5. So I want to randomize the size of the particle between these two values. You could do anything. You could use 0.1, 0.05. No, there are no any restrictions to it. So yeah. And 3D start rotation is nothing but the rotation of at the start of the particle. Since our particle is not a 3D one, we are not going to use it. So what is the start rotation? Start rotation is going to basically start the rotation. So let's not waste time over this values. But yeah, you could understand them easily. No need to worry about it. You can understand all of these values if you just if you do try and error. Okay, this is what you have to do. So now basically what we are going to look is we want our start color to be orange. So I'm going to take the cursor to the orange color, and then what we are going to do is we are going to do the simulation of it to the world, or local is also fine, but I want it to be world. World is going to basically let it simulate over to the world, and you will observe this thing. As you could see, particles are following the path, but the local, it is going to be, there is no reality in it. As you could see, there is no reality in it, but in the world it is, the simulation has got some kind of reality to it, right? So I'm basically going to use the local. You could use this thing world, but yeah, right now people to use this. Now what you have to do is basically is promoting gravity modifier. Gravity modifier is going to pull down your particles. As you can see now, particles are going following the downward direction. Next thing is the emission rate. So I'm going to increase the emission to 20. Okay, let's not make it 20, but I'm going to make it 60. And now we are going to determine a shape. So shape, let it be cone. If I take sphere, as you can see, it is spreading all over the scene. in a spherical manner. But I don't want the sphere, I want this cone only. So I'm just going to use cone, and I want the angle to be a bit narrow, and then I want the radius to be zero, uh, approximately zero. Okay, cool. So this is what I wanted, and then I'm just going to decrease the start lifetime to 0.12, so it would look like an exhaust. And then what we are going to do is we are going to make it much smoother than that. So let's go for the overlap. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. We are done with the color part. You could actually change the color here as well. I'm going to make the start color to orange, and then I'm going to just change the color at the end. I'm going to make it pet green. So it is going to have an effect over here. It's going to change the color from orange to green. If I make it over here, it is not changing. I don't know why. Okay, cool. It is changing, but you won't be able to see it because of the screen, guys. So now what we are going to do is we are actually done with the effects. So the final thing which we need to do is just rename it as exhaust, and then let's create a prefab of it, and we are good to go. So as you can see, I have created a prefab of that effect, and now we are good.
This video I am going to show you how to create a game mode functionality of your game. So to do that, what you have to do is let's understand the basic concept behind the game over functionality. So what would be the game over functionality? Yeah, it is simple. What you have to do is when the spaceship ever touches the border, which is this white border, it is going to blast, or you can say the game is going to be over. Or if it touch if our spaceship even touches the obstacle which is coming on its way, then also it's going to burst, or you can say in short, a game is going to be over. So now to do that, what you have to do is we need to create some trigger entries. So to do that, what you have to do is just go to the obstacle and mark the box collider as trigger. So what it is going to do is trigger help you to when a game object intersects the other object with a box collider or any kind of a collider, and the trigger is on, then what is going to happen is it is going to generate a trigger that a player, for example, suppose obstacles enters the box collider of the obstacle. So now what obstacle is going to do is that obstacle is going to generate a trigger, and it is going to say that a specific game object has entered my collider, or you can say enter this box, so that whatever you want to do, you can do with it. So this is how the trigger works, and there is a special function used for to generate some triggers. So what you can do is just go back to the script of the player controller and just follow me. So after the editor opens, what you have to do is, yeah, you have to call on a trigger function. So it is an inbuilt mono behavior trigger function. So let's call it like typing it private void on trigger, and as you can see, the trigger enter function has been generated, or you can say the created. So what you have to do is this collider other is nothing but the obstacle which it is going to triggering to the collider of the player. So what is going to happen is it is going to generate a message that a trigger that other object has been triggered. So to identify what type of object that has triggered to our spaceship, we have to set a tag for them. We have to create a tag for them. So what you have to do is just drag this obstacle right into the editor, or you can say the same. And what you have to do is just go to the tag tab and just click on that, and let's create a new tag. So add a tag and name it as obstacle. So now with that said, guys, let's create one more tag and say it border. So with that said, guys, what you have to do is go to the obstacle object and just click on the tag and make it obstacle. So now our obstacle, which is our game object, is going to get it is having a tag name as obstacle, which is going to be which would prove to be helpful while using those trigger functions, because that other object is going to get a reference that, or you can say it is going to check whether the object is of tag obstacle or not. And if it is of tag obstacle, the game is going to get over and the spaceship is going to burst. So with that said guys, and the similar functionality is going to be going to run over the borders also. We are going to name it as borders, and if the object which is triggering, or you can say which is colliding, or you can say which is intercepting to a spaceship, if it is going to be of tag border, then also the spaceship is going to burst. So with that said guys, let's just write the script for it. So go to the editor, IDE, Visual Studio. Now what you have to do is, in the trigger function, what you have to do is type in an if statement, and then just go for it and take a reference to the other object. So other dot game object dot tag. So to call the tag, you have to reference the game object of that other, right? Other collider. So tag, if the tag equals obstacle. So at first let's disable the spaceship so that we can see that whether the code is working fine or not. So set active is false. So with that said guys, it is going to disable the, or you can say deactivate the game object during the runtime. So with that said guys, if the game if our ship collides with any kind of obstacle, what it is going to do, it is going to disable itself. So now let's create one more else if statement and check whether other dot game object dot tag equals border, and if it is going to be of type border, or if the object is going to have a tag of border, then also it is going to just disable itself. The shape is going to disable itself. So with that said guys, our code is ready to run, and let's check the functionality whether it is working or not. So for to do that, what you have to do is just take on this prefab which is obstacle, and let's override it so that the changes we have made, that is we have added a tag to our prefab. So let's apply those changes to the prefab folder, you can say the prefab instance of our game object obstacle. So now with that said guys, we have applied our changes to that, and so we can delete this game object. And with that said guys, you need to also apply that trigger to the borders. So go to the first track and then go to the right and left border and change the trigger to border. And with that said guys, let's check for the colliders, and the collider is not a trigger, so check in the box trigger. And so with that said guys, just go there and just overwrite the prefab. So with that said guys, now changes would occur on the every game object name, every game object which has got a prefab, or you can say which has been derived from the track prefab. So as you can see, the trigger has been generated automatically when I overrided the game object. So now as you can see, so the save the changes, and let's try to see what happens when we play the game. So as you can see, game is running smoothly, but when I collide with any of the trigger, the game is not okay, it is not working, the trigger is not working. So let's see why it is not working. Okay, so we go to the spaceship. So the reason behind the trigger, the reason for trigger not to work is that we have not added any type of collider to our spaceship. So to do that, what you have to do is just add a box collider or any kind of a collider, because if we add a max collider, it would take huge amount of calculation, it would require huge amount of calculation. So it is better to have a box collider to it, attached to it. So now let's edit the box collider because it is not fitting perfectly to our game object. And with that said guys, let's just edit our box collider so that it can fit to the spaceship properly. Okay, what are this? Okay, so one thing which we can do is just type in here manually. Okay, this would be the height. Okay, just decrease the height to 15, and then width should be around 10, not 10, but let's make it 25. Okay, now our spaceship looks good. Okay, it should be 30, I guess. Okay, so now the spaceship looks good with the collider, and now don't forget to add a trigger check to our box collider of the spaceship. So now with that said guys, let's try to run this game and see what happens. As you can see, our spaceship is running, our game is running smoothly, and if I trigger over any kind of an object, it is not generating any kind of those effects which we put into picture, that we that when a collider is been hitting to our game object, it should disable itself, right guys? So it is not working. So what would be the reason? What could be the reason for that to not work? So let's see. Have we made any kind of spelling mistakes in the script? No, it's fine. But there could be one possible reason. The box collider to run successfully, there should be a rigid body attached to it, guys. So let's try to add a rigid body to our game object, which is spaceship. And yeah, we should not make it kinematic, but we should constrain the positions of our spaceship. So let's try to constrain the position of our spaceship on all of the axes. So let's constrain the position and rotation in all of the axes, so it don't have any kind of effects of rotation and all if it collides with any kind of other objects. So now if we run the game and try to collide our spaceship, as you can see the camera has been disabled. That means the game object has been disabled. As you can see in the hierarchy, the game object has been disabled because it just triggered an obstacle, guys. So why it is showing display no camera rendering? Because we have just attached our camera to this spaceship, and since the parent of the camera is been disabled, the camera itself is going to get disabled because it has got a parent-child relationship. So with that said, guys, our code is running fine, but now what we have to do is we have to adjust that camera, guys. So to do that, what we can do is get a reference to the camera in the player script. Okay, get a reference using the game object variable type and make it a cam variable name as cam. And what you have to do is we just need to deparent it, guys. So how we can deparent our camera? So to do that, what you have to do is just get a reference to the cam game object and dot transform dot parent, set it equal to null. So with that, guys, we are going to deparent our camera so that the rendering issue is not going to be caused again, is not going to get caused again, so that error won't come again. So as you can see, we have nullified the parent of the camera in both of the state in both of the blocks. So with that said, guys, now we are good to go. And if I run the script now, it is going to work fine because it is going to deparent the okay, it's not working properly. Oh yeah, because we have not assigned the value to this variable, which is camera. So let's try to assign that value. It should not be null because it would cause an error in the console that since the object is being null, we have got no reference to this cam.transform.parent. It cannot be set as null, and if it is not going to execute this statement, the further execution of the code is going to get stopped, guys. So to avoid this type of errors, you need to make sure that you have assigned all of those variables. So with that said, guys, let's try to play the game and see if we are getting any kind of other errors. As you can see, it immediately disabled itself. Why? Because at start only the camera the spaceship got triggered with an obstacle. So let's try to run it again and take a close look to our spaceship. So if I hit the play button, as you can see, our spaceship is running good, it's working fine. And now if I collide with the border, as you can see, spaceship has gone or you can say has been deactivated. So after a spaceship has been deactivated, we need to stop the movement of the track so it doesn't look weird, guys. So to do that, what you have to do is, it's very simple. Just take a reference to a track handler, because the track handler game object has got the gear track handler script, guys. So what you have to do is just disable that script and the movement of the track is going to stop. So what you have to do is just take a reference of that game object, or you can directly take a reference of the track handler script, and then what you have to do is just name a variable. I will name a variable as th, and then with that said, guys, what you have to do is just go there down the script in that obstacle trigger conditional statement, go there, and what you have to do is just call in that th dot enable as false. Once I make it as false, if the enable is been false, it is not going to that script is going to be disabled or during the runtime of the game. So with that said, guys, the script has been disabled, and if I try to run this game again, but at first what you have to do is assign that trigger or it is going to stop working, guys. So go there and just drag the track handler game object over the th, because track handler game object has got the script, so it is automatically going to get a reference to that script, guys. So as you can see, the reference has been generated, and with that said, guys, let's save the changes we have made and try to play the game. Now if we try to play the game, as you can see, at start only that obstacles have been generated and the spaceship directly collide to that obstacle, but as you can see, the movement of the track has been stopped. So to take a close look, what you have to do is just click on this first track and just disable this obstacle handler, so no other obstacles are being generated during the start of the game, and the player does not immediately get died, or you can say the burst of his own spaceship immediately. So now let's try to play the game and see what happens. As you can see, track 1 is not generating obstacle because we just disabled that script. So now the spaceship is running smooth, and if I try to collide with any of those obstacles, track handler is going to stop itself, because as you can see, go to the hierarchy and take a reference to the track handler. As you can see in the take a look over the inspector. As you can see, track handler is not activated right now. Now if I check this box again, the track is going to move on and on, and if I check this box again to false, as you can see, the track has been stopped. So we are going to develop a basic main menu for our game. So let's get started. Open a browser and search for Unity Asset Store. And then after searching for the Unity Asset Store, what you have to do is search for a UI elements or anything you can type in, but I would like to do it type in UI and just search for it. Then go down in the pricing and just click on the free assets. After clicking on that free asset, go scroll down, and you are going to find a Unity technology name, and the package name is Unity Sample UI. Just click on that and just try to open it into that Unity editor. As you can see, now the editor is not opening the UI, but no problem, no worries. We can just directly go to our asset store and just do the same procedure. Go to the asset store tab, maximize it, and if you have not got the asset store tab into your system, what you can basically do is go into the Windows tab, click on that and just go into the general, and no, not asset store, there is not okay, here is the asset store, it's outside below the layouts option. So click on that, and the shortcut is Control-9. Press Control-9 and the asset store tab is going to be activated. So now what you have to do is, since I already earned my asset, just go to my assets tab, or you can see the button, click on that and search for UI. And now if I search for UI, I'm going to get several UI templates, and the package which I was looking for was this Unity Sample UI. Just click download to it, and once it finishes downloading, we are going to be able to use it. Just import that package entirely into your system. Okay, it's loading. Okay, so the things which we don't need right now is this main menu panel. Okay, we don't need any type of animation, we don't need any type of fonts, we don't need any type of material, we don't need any type of model, of course, no prefab, no scene, no scripts. The things which we only need is the structures and textures and sprites. So just just let them be checked, and or you can say let them be active, and just import those textures and sprite into your system. And once it is imported, once it completes importing, just go there and go to the project tab, and you are going to observe some structures and sprite folder. Go inside of that and you are going to see them. Okay, it's not here, it's not here. As you can see, I've got my buttons there. So we have the complete sprite right now. So what you can do is, just to create a main menu for our game, what you have to basically do is go to go to the scenes folder and create another scene. So let's create a new scene by hitting on the create tab and hitting that create the scene button. Try to name it okay, just name the scene as main menu, so that we can know this scene is the main menu of our game. And let's rename our sample scene as game scene. Okay, so with that said, guys, just hit the reload button, and with that said, guys, just go to the main menu. Okay, so now we are in the main menu. As you can see, the scene is entirely empty. So what you have to do is go to the main camera and just instead of skybox, just go there and hit the solid color, and just below that we have got one more variable naming as background. So what you have to do is just change the background from blue to black, so it looks standard. So with that said, guys, what you have to do right now is just create a canvas. So just hit the canvas button, and as you can see, event system and canvas have already been generated. So what you have to do right now is just add some background image, guys, so that it looks good. So what you have to do for that is go into the SFUI, go to background, and just try to add that background image. So what you have to do for that is go into the canvas and create an image using the UI tab. Go to the UI tab and create an image, guys. So what you have to do right now is go to the 2D mode so that we can edit our UI properly and more comfortably. Just double click on that image and so that we can focus on that image. So now what we have to do is go to the canvas and just go inside that canvas scaler. Instead of constant pixel size in the UI scale mode, just click on that scale with screen size, because this would help our game UI, or you can say the screen, or you can say the canvas, to just scale it as per the screen size. So with that said, guys, what you have to do right now is just maximize the panel or maximize the image size, or you can say the fit our image all over the screen. So what you have to do for that is go to the anchor and then just press shift alt, and then just hit this button, which is in the bottom right corner of our anchor presets tab. So just hit that button, and as you can see, image has been spread all over the screen. So with that said, guys, let's rename the image as background image. Okay, so with that background image, what you have to do right now is just drag this SFUI into the sprite, or you can say the image source image. And once I drag it right there, it is going to create a good background for our game, guys. So with that said, guys, what you have to do right now is let's create a button for a play game, or you can say the start game. So let's go and go to the UI and create a text mesh pro. Okay, there's no need to use text mesh pro because we have not got any package of it. So just delete this and go to the canvas, and again go to the UI and hit the button. So with that, a button has been generated. What you have to do right now is just rename the button as start game btn, actually the short form for button. And with that said, guys, the button is ready to use. But first and foremost thing which we need to do is just change the image of our button, because it is not looking quite good. So just change it to SF button, and as you can see now, button has been changed, the button image has been changed. So just adjust the size of the button, and then just click on that arrow which is beside the start game button, and then you are going to get a reference to the text. Now just select the text, and instead of button, just rename it as start game. So with that said, guys, let's just adjust some values of the text. So just try to play with those values. I would like to have black color rather than the gray. So now the alignment is proper because it is centerized in both the sides. And now what I have to do is just increase the size of my font. So I am making my font size to 20, and you can have yours. So with that said, guys, the button is looking quite good and it is quite attractive, guys. So with that, guys, our start button has been ready. So now the next option which we need to do is the options button, options btn, or yeah, options btn. So now options btn has been ready to use. Just go over the text and just rename it as options, and we are ready to go. Okay, so just drag the start button to the top, select the start button, instead of pivot make it center, and just drag that. Okay, it's not working. Yeah, I got a hold of the anchor point. So now just drag it to the top, and option should be in the middle. Okay, not in the middle, but okay, now it's looking fine. Great. So we created the start button as well. Now one last button which we need to use, which we need to create, is this exit button, so that a player can exit the game. So with that said guys, we create this exit button and just drag it down there, and yeah, fine, looking great. So go to the text of the exit button and just rename it as exit, or you can even make it quit guys. So with that said guys, now we have designed our UI for the main menu, but one thing which is remaining is a background for those buttons. So just try to create an image in the canvas. Now what you have to do is create a parent-child relationship, but before that what you have to do is just scale our image properly and fit it properly. Now next thing which we need to do is just rename this image as BG, or you can say the button BG. Full form stands button background. And with that said guys, just change the image of the background and make it something like SF window. It is working great, it is looking fine, great guys. So just rescale it again so it don't look awkward or don't look weird. And with that said guys, now button are looking good. So the last thing which we need to do is just create a parent child relationship between that button background and our buttons. So just drag those buttons inside those BT and BG. And with that said guys, now we are ready to use our button. So to use our button, we need to create a script for them. So let's create a script name as UI handler. Okay, so we create a script named as UI handler. After creating the script, just double click on that script and we are ready to edit it. So with that said guys, now we need to add some functionality for our buttons, right guys? So when I hit the start button, we need to go to this other scene which is named as game scene guys. So in the options, we are going to take a look over that options later on in this course, and for the quit, we are going to just create this functionality right now. So what you have to do right now is guys, just go there and take a reference to this namespace named as Unity engine.scene management. So with that said guys, now we have the reference to the scene management. We can access all of those functions which are created in the scene management by the mono behavior. So the next thing which we need to do is create a public function so that our button could take a reference over these functions. So what you have to do is just create a public void and name it as start game. So one thing which I want you to know is just go back to the editor and go back, just click on that file button and hit that build settings. Now in the build setting, as you can see, there are scenes in build. So what is scenes in build template used for, or you can say the space used for? It is a place where you can adjust on your scene. So I would add my current scene. So it has got an index of 0. Now I want to add one more scene which is a game scene. So it is going to have an index 1. So now with using those index, we are going to go from one scene to another. So to do that, just go back to the script and take a reference to the scene manager dot load scene 1, because when a start button is been hit, when a start button is hit, what we have to do is we need to transform from one scene to another. So we are going from the one scene, we are going to travel our player from one scene to the another scene, which is the game scene from the main menu scene. So with that said guys, now we have add our functionality for the start game button. Now the next functionality would be the quit. So yeah, so name it as quit btn. Okay, so scene manager, or not scene manager, application dot quit would be the functions used for this for the application to quit successfully. So once a user clicks that quit button, it is going to directly close the application, and this effect is only going to be seen while we build the final product of our game. So with that said guys, what we can do right now is just test our start button whether it is working fine or not. So just go into the button VG. So at first we need to add this script to any of the game objects. So I would like to add my script to the canvas game object. So just go there and add a component name as UI handler, which we created earlier, or you can say just right now. Just go to the start button and just scroll down and after scrolling down you are going to get on click events. So just since the list is empty, you need to add one more and go during the it should run during the runtime, not the editor and runtime. So now what you have to do is just click on that canvas and drag it on the none object, and it is going to take a reference of the canvas because it has got the script which has got a desired function to use. So now just search for the script, or you can say the script which we need to use. So we don't need to use the scheme object, rect, transform, canvas, canvas scaler, graphics raycaster. We need this UI handler. So after taking reference to the UI handler, we need the function which is inside of it, and that is the start game function. So take a reference to that start game function and we are ready to go. So the similar functionality should be done should be created for the exit button as well. So just add that event, click event, and just drag that game object which is canvas having the UI handler, and then go to the function, select the UI handler and click on that quit button function. So now we are ready to go, and let's hit the play button. Once we hit the play button, as you can see, we can click any of the button, and if I hit the start button, the game begins. So with that said guys, we have created a basic main menu for our game, a game over menu for our game. So let's get it done. So open the game scene of our game. Now what you have to do right now is instead of creating the main the game over menu right here, what we can do is just create another scene and name it as game over. So with that said guys, just open that game over scene, and as you can see the scene is been empty, but it is right now in 2D. So you can switch on to 3D by just hitting that 2D button again. And since we want to work with the canvas and the 2D functionality which is UI, so we need to just stay in this 2D mode. So what you have to do right now is just go to the camera and just instead of the skybox make it solid color and edit the color to black. Now again, with that said guys, we need to create one canvas image for the background guys. So what you can do is just go to the UI image and just scale the image all over the screen. So before that, what we need to do is just go to the canvas button and go to the canvas scaler, and from the constant pixel size make it scale with screen size. So with that said guys, now we have to just reset our position or transform for our image. So just reset the transform for our image and just make the anchor points stretched all over the corners, so all over the screen. So with that said guys, just rename the image as BG. BG stands for background, of course. So now what we have to do is just change the image for our background. So as you can see, we have got several images for our background. So the one which we need right now could be, yeah, okay, let's use this one again. There are no problems. So let's use this same background image which we used earlier. So no problem. Okay, if you want to change the background image, so we can change it too. So we have got several textures right there. So what you can do is just drag any of those textures. Okay, since the textures are not in the sprite mode, what you have to do is just hit that sprite and 2D and UI, sprite 2D and UI. Just hit the apply, and now our sprite are going to be now our images are going to be a sprite. So just drag any of them, and as you can see, it is looking quite good. This okay, instead of that, which we can use this binary codes, or even this one is looking great. So this is looking perfect. So let's try to use this image which is binary_2. So this would be our background, and similarly, as we created some of the buttons in our game in this main menu, so what we have to do right now is just create one more button, and yeah, it should be not a text mesh pro, but instead which we need is simple text, right? So what you can do right now is just delete this button and just create another button and go to the UI and hit that button above the button text mesh pro. So what you have to do right now is just change the image of our button. So let the image be this one, guys. So as you can see, our button image has been changed. So just scale the button properly so that it looks quite good, and then change the text of our button. So from text, okay, so right now we have to change the color to, let's make it white so it looks more visible, and make it retry. So rename it as retry, and then just scale the size of the text to 20, and as you can see now it is visible. So from normal, let's adjust the font style to bold, so it looks more bold. And as you can see, our button is more visible right now. So rename the button to retry btn to recognize it as a retry button. And with that said guys, just drag the button top over the to 30.5 on the y-axis, and let's create one more button which says exit. Yeah, exit button. So exit btn and rename the text as exit. So with that said guys, we have done the exit functional. We have created the exit button. So just drag that exit button just below the retry button. Okay, we just need to reposition this retry button again, and as you can see the button is good to go. Now we have to create a title for our game, for our scene. So the title should be game over, of course, game over, because this is the scene when comes into picture when the game is over guys. So as you can see, we have created the game over title, and just adjust the color of our title, and the font size should be big enough to so that it is visible. So let's make it to 25, up to 25, not 25, but let's double the size to 50. And as you can see now it is looking good. So just go to the font style and make it bold, and as you can see now text is looking more good. So just anchor it to the top and click on that button, and now as you can see the title is good enough. So as you can see, title is coming out of the picture, and you can see the title clearly as it suggests it is game over. So with that said guys, what you have to do right now is just create, okay, so just add a UI handler script right there to the canvas game object, and after adding this UI handler script to the canvas game object, what you have to do is just add a on click event to this retry button guys. So just do the same procedure which we did earlier in the main menu. Main menu buttons there, which included start game and quit. So just go to the UI handler and start game. Because why we are using the start game function, because when we hit the retry button, we want the player to go back to the scene one where our actual game is being displayed. So we will go back to that scene and we are going to start playing that game again. So with that said guys, what you have to do right now is just create an exit functionality of our game. So what you have to do is just go to the UI handlers. If we don't have any kind of an exit function, what you have to do is create one. So go into the script UI handler and type in public void and create the function name as exit btn. And in that scene, just go there and scene manager dot load scene 0, because exits help you to go back to the main menu. It doesn't close up the application guys. So with that said guys, we are good to go. And after we create the function successfully, go there and go to the on click event of the exit button, and just drag on that canvas inside the game object space and go to the UI handler and click on that exit btn. So with that said guys, we are good to go. And once we hit the play button, and if I try to click on this exit button, as you can see we have directly jumped over to our main menu. And let's use this retry button as well. And if I click this retry button, as you can see, game begins, or you can say game has been restarted guys. So with that said guys, let's add some more functionalities like high score and all. So to add a high score into our game system, what you have to do is first create a logic for the high score guys. So what you have to do for that is just go back to the scene, which is the game scene. Go back to the game scene, and let's go. Yeah, right now we are in the 2D mode. So go into 3D space and go near the spaceship, and let's try to create a canvas known as where we can display our high score guys. So with the canvas being created, what you have to do is just hit this 2D button. Just go to this canvas scaler, and from constant pixel size, make it to scale with screen size. And with that said guys, we have to now add a high score text guys. So what you have to do right now is just add a simple text in the game, and let's make it more visible by coloring it to white and making the text bold. So by making the text bold, it is looking quite good. And let's do the alignment to the center, And with that said guys, let's increase the size of the font and go to the game view and see how font size is affecting our scene, game scene. So as you can see, we have created a sample score 25 and just get it to the top right corner, and as you can see, the high score is set to 25, and the player should know that it is a high score. So let's set a title for our high score and create another text and make it high score, text as high score. So just again adjust the color to white, and alignment should be in the center, and the text should be bold guys. So what you have to do, from normal just go to bold, and as you can see, our high score is looking quite good, and just again align it to the top. Okay, this one is on the top as well. Okay, just rename this text as the score guys. Okay, just rename this text as score txt. Text txt stands for text, and this as the title txt. So with that said guys, just do some required changes and drag this 25 just below the high score title guys. So with that said guys, what you have to do right now is create a function to add on our high score. So at first the high score should be 0. So with that said guys, what we are going to do right now is we are going to add score after a player deletes a track, after one track is been deleted guys. So when a track is been deleted, we are going to add a score to our screen, add a score. So what you have to do is just create a score. In this track handler, we need to create a variable name as score, private integer score equals to 0, because at start the score should be equal to 0. Okay, so with that said guys, what you have to do is after we destroy one game object, after we destroy one track, we need to increment our scores value to +5 guys. So with that said guys, now we are incrementing our score variable with +5, and what we have to do is we need to display the text on the game scene. So what you have to do is you need to get a reference to this unity engine.ui so that you can have an access over the UI elements of the game editor. So what engine editor, unity editor. So go there and just serialize field and make the variable type as text. And with that said guys, what you have to do right now is name a variable as score text. And now what you have to do is when you increment the text, or you can say after every update, we are going to update our score text guys. So what you have to do, the score text dot text equals to score, of course, score dot to string. So what it is going to do basically is it is going to this toString function is going to just transform this score integer to a string format guys. So with that said guys, now if we play the game and check out our score system, it is going to work fine. But before we check out that, what we have to do is get a reference to the score text. So we are getting a reference to our score text, and now we are good to go. Now if we hit the play button in the editor, you are going to have get some serious changes in the game. So the score is going to get updated after every track has been deleted. After one track deletes, we are going to get an increment of 5. Now if one more track has been deleted, we are going to again get an increment of 5, and our score is going to get 10. So as you can see, our score is increasing with every track deleting. So our current score is 10. So with that score set, now we have to create a high score functionality in our game. So what you have to do for that is we need to display our score on the game over menu, and if our score is greater than, if our current score is greater than the high score, it is going to replace it to high score guys. So the title text should be score, right? It shouldn't be high score. So with that said guys, we are good to go and create a functionality for high score. So what we are going to do right now is guys, we are going to create a player preferences. So what are player prefs? Player prefs helps you to store some integer and which can be accessed in every scene. It is a kind of a you can think of it as a place where you can save the values of the game after you play a game. Suppose I am playing this game And after the scene is completed, after the game gets over, we are going to jump to the game over scene. And when we jump to the game over scene, whatever the function, whatever the values we had in the integer, whatever the values we had for the score is going to get again defaulted to 0, and we are not going to get any saved things. So to save those variables, we need to create a player preferences, guys. So to do that, what you need to do is create a player preference. So when a player dies, so go back to the but first we need to make it internal. We can make this internal. So what you have to do right now is just from private, we need access modifier of this code to be internal so that we can access it into the player's controller. So when the player dies, like if the obstacle or the border has been generated, so what you have to do right now is just let's compress the script, because both of these blocks are performing the same task, right guys? So both of them have the same execution process, executional statement. So what you have to do is just create an OR here, and an OR statement, a logical statement. Let's use a logical statement and just go there and add this border right there, and just delete this else if statement. So what it is going to basically do is, if it is obstacle or border, the same execution line is going to get executed. So once it get executed, what you have to do is we need to create an invoke function. What an invoke does is, after it gets you a power of calling a function after a small period of time. So with that said, guys, let's create a game over function. Game over function. So what you are going to do right now is, guys, create a game over, just call that function inside of the invoke, and in the second parameter you need to add a time after how much amount of time it is going to get executed. So I want it to execute after 2.5 seconds. So this invoke function would call this game over function after 2.5 seconds when the invoke statement is been executed. So in the game over function, I want to access the player preferences. Player preps dot set integer current score to our th dot score, because we have created this score integer inside that track handler script. So what we are going to basically do is we are creating an preference. If a preference is not already existing named as current score, it is going to create a current score preferences for us, and if it does exist, it is going to just modify the current value of the current score, guys. So what it is going to do is it is going to add a current score. It is going to add the score currently which we have achieved in our game, and it is going to add in that current score file, guys. So with that said, guys, we are good to go. Now we have got a reference to our current score. So let's hit the play button and see what happens. So as you can see, game is working fine. Let's increase the speed of the track to 50, I guess. And as you can see, the player dies and we have the score 5, guys. So now since we have a score 5, what we are going to do in the next scene is go to the game over scene, and what we have to do right now is display our score, display our current score and the high score. So what you will do for that is just create a text. This should be named as current current score, and the other text should be named as high score. So what you have to do is just name it as current score, guys. And with that said, guys, what you have to do is, okay, instead of using it current score, just make it 0, and this is our current score, of course. So what you have to do is just just access the values of it and make it centralized, and increase the size of the font and just make it bold so it is visible, and make the color as white. So as you can see, the font is being visible. So now with that said, guys, what you have to do is just drag the value over the top and display it properly. So I would just drag it right there to -80 on the x-axis, and just duplicate this this game object and name it as high score. And after naming it as high score, we are just going to drag it to the positive 80 on the x-axis. So with that said, guys, we have got two texts which are current score and high score, where we are going to display our current game score and the high score which we achieved earlier in the game by playing the game. So go and take a reference over the script name as UI handler, because our all of the UI stuffs are going to be handled by this UI handler script. So with that said guys, let's take a reference to our current score text. So to create a type of variable text, you need, so with that said guys, let's create some two variables for our text. For our text, so what you have to do is just create a text, create a variable of type text and name it as current text, current score text txt, and then again create a variable of type text and name it as high score text. So with that said guys, what you have to do right now is just we need to update our text using the player preferences. So what you have to do is just create this just edit this current score text equals to get a player prefs, get integer of type, get integer of current. Okay, so the key was, I guess, current score. And with that said guys, just make it to go to string so we can convert our integer to string. And with that said guys, if the current, okay, if the player prefs dot get integer, which is current score, greater than player prefs dot get int high score, then what we are going to do is we are going to replace the high score dots high score prefs player prefs to our current score. So what I have to do right now is just go to create a high score key and just again get an integer from the player prefs of the key current score. And with that said guys, now we have got okay, error has been generated because we are not calling any type of an data type from the current score. So the data type which we are going to extract from the current score is integer guys. So as so with that said guys, we are done creating a logic for the high score, and then again we are going to just add a texture to a high score text dot not texture, sorry, it's a text. We are going to edit the text of the high score text to player preferences dot get int the key, which is our high score guys. So as you can see, we are good to go. Okay, first of all, we need to convert it to string, otherwise it would cause an error. And with that said guys, let's add one more thing, because this thing is only going to add the text, only going to add the number to the current text. We are not we won't be able to identify it as a current score and the high score. So let's add current score in front of our text, in front of our score. So again here we are going to add high score. Okay, with that said guys, we are good to go. Now if we play the game and see, in the previous game we created a current score of 5. So if we hit play button, we are going to get a 5. Okay, so current score and the score are already 0, so we don't know the reason behind it, but yeah, the main reason behind it is we have not assigned those current score text and the high score text. So once we assign those values, we would be able to edit the text which is displayed over the screen. So as you can see, we are getting 5 because the current score was 5 during the previous game, during the previous scene while we were playing. And so with that said guys, let's play the entire game one more time to check the functionality of our game. So I go to the main menu and hit the start button. I hit the play button of the editor, and now I hit the start game button, and as you can see, I'm playing the game. So let's make our score from 5 to 10. So just keep playing until our score gets 10 or above. So as you can see, now our score has been edited to 10, has been incremented to 10. Now game is over, and now since we have not invoked the function game over, that is, we are not calling the scene, the game scene of the game over scene. So the game over is not directly linked to the game scene after the game gets over. So just manually hit that game over, and if we see now, the current score and the high score would be 10 guys. So as you can see, current score and high score is 10. The current is displaying because the because the anchoring, because the scaling of the text is not proper. And now if we scale it to a proper amount, it is going to display the whole score, guys. So with that said, guys, just the scale the high scores too. And with that said, guys, we are good. We have created our game over menu. So with that, so let's for the last thing which we need to do is we need to link that game over scene to our game scene, guys. So what you have to do is just go to the script, which is a player controller script. And okay, guys, get a reference to the Unity scene management, Unity engine dot scene management. Okay, scene manage. Okay, yeah, it's Unity engine, not Unity. And get a reference to scene management, and we are good to go. Now we can just call this game over scene using the scene manager dot load scene, and enter the index of our scene, game over scene, which is 2. And with that, guys, once the game overs, the game over function is going to get called after 2.5 seconds, and the game scene is going to be loaded, guys. So game over scene is going to be loaded. So let's hit the play button, and let's hit the border. And as you can see, after 2.5 seconds, it is going to load the game over scene, but it is not loading because, yeah, the reason behind that is we are disabling our spaceship, right? So instead of disabling, since we are disabling our spaceship, the player controller cannot work because the game object to which it is attached is going to be disabled. So to let the game over function work properly, we need a player controller script to be functioning properly. So to do that, what we have to do is, instead of just ending up just disabling our entire spaceship game object, what you can do is just take this and disable our just this, what we can say, yeah, the mesh of the spaceship. So if we disable the mesh of the spaceship is as good as the spaceship has been destroyed. So what you can do, guys, right now is just unpack the prefab completely so we can edit and make some changes. And with the spaceship mesh being disabled, we are also going to disable our spaceship exhaust, guys, with it. So with that done, guys, what we can as you can see, when I disable the spaceship mesh, the entire spaceship has been disabled, so it is working fine. So what you have to do right now is just edit a small bit of code. So where we are disabling the entire game object, what I have to do is just get a reference to the player smash to go and create an object of type of game object and get and name it as spaceship mesh. So now we are going to get a reference to the spaceship mesh game object, and we are directly going to just disable that. So just instead of game object, just type in spaceship mesh, and now the spaceship is only going to be disabled. So once I hit the play button and start playing the game, okay, yeah, we just forgot to just take a reference of the spaceship in the script. So just take this spaceship mesh reference in the spaceship mesh variable. So with that done, guys, what you have to do is just hit the play button of the editor, and let's see what happens. So once I hit the border of the game, as you can see, the script is again not working. So the reason behind it might be that we have not added a game over scene on the build settings. Okay, guys, so let's add this game over scene inside the build settings, and now there won't be any error caused in the game. So as you can see, we add the game over scene inside this build settings, and now if we just hit the play button for our game scene and see what happens. Now if we just crash to the border and see, after 2.5 seconds, it is going to load the game over scene. As you can see, we have loaded our game over scene, and our current score was 0 because we didn't got any score in the previous game, and because we directly hit the border of the track, and the high score was 10, guys. So all of the functionalities are working good. It is great, guys. Now we have just come to an end of our first game, which is this Dimension X. Now after with that said, guys, now in the next lecture we are going to do some polishing, a final polishing of this game, and we are good to go. So we are going to polish our game. So As you can see in our game scene, the game scene is not looking quite good. It is not looking like the another dimension. So to make it feel like it is in another dimension, what you have to do is create a skybox, guys. So we are going to replace the default skybox with our own very own skybox. So let's create a skybox, guys. So what you have to do is go back into the texture folder, and instead of that, just create a material, guys. Name it name it as skybox underscore binary. After naming it as skybox binary, what you have to do is go inside the inspector tab and go inside the shader and replace it with skybox, and then make it a six-sided one. So after that, you have to drag some texture over the skybox. So what you have to do basically is just drag this binary 3 on every texture, and after dragging it on every texture, what you have to do next is just go to the lighting tab and just click on that. As you can see, skybox material is the default skybox. What you do is just drag our current skybox over there. So as you can see, now our skybox has been replaced with our binary. So now if we play this game, it is going to look more cool. So as you can see, guys, it is looking more good and great, guys. So as you can see, the skybox is just looking more attractive than the previous one. So now with that said, guys, what we have to do right now is just create another material for our obstacle, because that obstacle is not looking good. So to do that, what you have to do is let's create another material, name it as obstacle, and go into the inspector tab, and inside of the albedo, drag the grid texture. Any of the grid texture will work fine, and then go to the emission tab and click check on that emission tab, and again drag that texture in the color. And as you can see, now it is emitting color. You can preview the texture, you can preview the material over the in that inspector tab again. So as you can see, the it is emitting some light, and let's increase the intensity. So now it is going to emit more amount of light, and as you can see, it is looking great, guys. So with that said, guys, what you have to do right now is just go inside of that obstacle tab, and okay, it's looking great. So drag a prefab obstacle, and then let's replace the material to our very own new material, guys. So this is the obstacle material. So drag that obstacle material over the drag, and as you can see, the tiling is not working fine because it is like a rectangular grid. It is not a cubical grid. So let's make it rectangular grid by tiling our texture. So go to the animation and just tile the texture to so not in the animation, but below the animation there is a tiling variable where x and y, you can tile the texture over the x and y. So let's tile it over the y and make it 3. So now it is looking a perfect cube, guys. So as you can see, now texture is ready, and let's save the obstacle. Let's override the prefab, and so that by doing that, we are going to apply the changes to our prefab. So now if we play the game, the obstacle is going to look more good. So as you can see, obstacles are looking great, guys. Since the cube is more okay, grid is looking great. So if you want to increase the size of the cube, or you can say increase the size of the texture, tiling of the texture, you can play the values of the tiling. You can play with the values of the tiling, and with that, guys, we are good to go. So now let's create some effects over the border. So border is very simple. So let's make a material which is emissive. So duplicate this obstacle material, and after duplicating it, just rename it to border, and let's remove all of those texture and replace it with none. After removing those texture, just add a bit of red glowing color. So to glow the color, what you have to do is just go to the HDR and replace the color to almost orange. And then after doing that changes, what you have to do is just drag that border color over the track border, guys. So after dragging it over there, what you have to do next thing is you just need to override things up. So first, to override things up, what you have to do is just click on that, just check that obstacle handler to active, or enable the obstacle handler, and then just override the changes. Once the changes are done, what you have to do again is just uncheck that obstacle handler, and we are good to go. So as you can see, we have just created some of the polish, and our obstacles has also got a good color to it. Our obstacle is also looking shinier, and one last thing which we need to do with our obstacle is let's create some random scaling for our obstacle, random size of the obstacle plus a random rotation of our obstacle. So go to the obstacle handler script, and over there what you have to do is just take a reference to the temp. After making it a parent or before making it a parent, what I have to do is just temp. Okay, temp. So with that done, guys, we are good to go. We have finally polished our game. We are using the skybox, and we have just created this track of orange, the track border of orange color. And as you can see, it is looking more attractive and good. So our game is at our final stage. Now the last thing which we need to add into our game is adding some sound effects, guys. So with this so in the next lecture we are going to add some sound effects to our game, guys, so stay tuned. Welcome back, guys, in this Unity game development tutorial series. My name is Krushil, the instructor of this course, and let's get started. So today in this lecture we are going to add some music and some sound effects in our game so that our game looks more good and the gameplay would be great, guys. So to do that, what you have to do is just import all of those music folder which I have provided you in the resources folder. So import all of this music, and now what you have to do is go inside the player spaceship and add in component known as audio source. So let me do it again. So now what you have to do is add component known as audio source. After doing that, what you have to do is go back to the script known as player controller. So go there and just create a variable of type audio source, and name the variable as audio source. And now what you have to do is get a reference to the audio source which is attached to our game object. So get a reference to the audio source which is attached to the game object. Get a component audio source. After getting and what you can say, yeah, after getting the reference to of the audio source, we are going we are going to try to understand what is the audio source. So audio source is actually the reason behind the is the main thing where with the help of which we can generate music. We can with the help of which we put music, we input the music inside the game scene, guys. Input the music, sound effects, other sound effects like exhaust sound effects, burst sound effects. All those effects come are enabled inside the game using the audio source, guys. So now what you have to do is just create an array. So name that array as, the type of the array would be, okay, audio clip. So audio clip would be the type of the array, and the name of the array should be music package. So with that said, guys, what you have to do, so now let's try to understand what is an array. So an array is a data structure, or simply an array is a data structure consisting of collection of elements, each identified by at least one array index or key. So what is an array index? So if you want, so suppose this array consists of 10 elements. So now what you want to do is you want to access the fifth element of the array. So what you have to do is just type in music package, which is the array name, and after that just open and close the box bracket, and inside of that you need to type an index. Since you want to reference the fifth element of the array, what you have to do is typing 4, because the indexing in the array starts from 0, guys. So fourth would be your fifth element, 0 would be your first element, and so on, guys. So with that, guys, now we are done with the arrays. We understood what an array is. Let's try to generate some random music, guys. So let's check at first if audio source dot is playing. If it is not playing, what we are going to do is we are randomly going to get music playing inside the audio source. Inside the audio source. So what you are going to do is audio source dot play music from the package, and let's generate some random number, random index. We are going to generate a random index like music package dot length. From 0 to, the index would be start from 0 to the length of the array. So this is how you are going to do it. So okay, what is this error? Ulong. Okay, audio clip to Ulong. Where is it? Audio clip to Ulong, audio clip to Ulong. Okay, yeah. So it won't be playing this for us because I don't know why. What's the problem? Okay, yeah. What you have to do right now is just change the clip of the audio source dot clip, which the clip should be equal to this music, the code which we wrote earlier, which is the music package, and we are going to randomly extract a clip from the music package. So the random range, so the index would be random, so let's create a random dot range function, and the minimum the minimum index would be 0, and the maximum would be the length of that music package. So let's add the length of the music package. And with that said, guys, now we can just create some random music playing while we are playing the game, random music play while we are playing the game. So with that said, guys, what you have to do is just typing the same code inside of this update function 2, and so the music goes on and on. So the functions go runs on and on. So now go back to the editor and check if it is looping. So play on awake is on. It should be on because when game starts, the music should automatically be play, and loop should be off because if we click on that looping button, the clip is going to loop again and again. Same clip is going to loop again and again, so there is no use of it. So now what you have to do is just log this once. So what this time basically does is, if you take a close look, if I go onto the other game object, like click on the canvas, the inspector changes, the values of the inspectors is changed with canvas information, guys. So now if you don't want to change the information when you click onto the other object, what you have to do is just click on this lock sign, guys. So if I go to the spaceship and I don't want to replace, I don't want to see any other information rather than spaceship, what I can do is just lock this up. And if I click now on the canvas, as you can see, the canvas information is not displayed over the inspector. So with that said, guys, what you have to do right now is drag some of the music inside of this array which we have created, this package, music package. So now go to the music folder and add some music to it, guys. So okay, so my system is just got my system is not working properly. It's lagging. I don't know why, but yeah, it might take some time. Just wait for a second. It would be ready to use soon. No need to worry about it. Okay, so it created some duplicate copies. I don't know why it created this duplicate copies. I must have dragged those things, right? So what I have to do right now is just delete these duplicate copies which have been generated in my game. So just select them and just delete it. And after deleting those duplicate copies, check whether there exist any more duplicate copies of the music, guys. So once you are done checking, what you have to do is just select this all music using control key and go there and just directly drag it over that music package array and just place it right there. So as you can see, we have placed 5 music inside this package, and now if I hit the play button, you are going to hear some audio. So as you can see guys, you were hearing some audio while playing the game, guys. So this is what audio source is all about, guys. This helps you to create some music inside the game. So with that said, guys, now we have to add some 2 more sound effect, which is the exhaust and the rocket burst effect. So let's get started with it. So after I stop my editor from playing the game, what I have to do is just go back to the player controller script, and over there what you have to do right now is just create 2 more variables, which includes private. Okay, it should be serialized field, by the way. So just create 2 more variables, name it as audio clip and name it as ship exhaust, or you can say the thruster, but okay, exhaust is fine, no problem. So ship exhaust, and the other audio would be named as, create another variable of type audio clip and name it as ship exhaust and ship, okay, it's not slip but clip, shape destroy SE stands for sound effects, of course, sound effects. So now with that said, guys, what you have to do is now you have to take another, you have to create another audio source, because this audio source has been full using this is occupied because we are playing some background music, guys. So what you can do right now is just create another game object. I will show you how to create this. And so get a reference to the audio source of the other game object. So type in audio source and get SE game, of course, SE stands for sound effect game object. So with that said, guys, what you have to do is just play in the music, which is the exhaust shape exhaust. So whew. So with that said, guys, what you have to do right now is okay, SE game object dot clip. Okay, no need to add a clip, just SE dot. Okay, I will show you how to add the exhaust because it's easy. So what we have to do is currently add the destruction function, destruction sound effect of the ship. So what you have to do is just go over just above the game over invoke function and just type in this SE game object dot clip equals to the clip. We are going to change the clip right now. So clip would be our ship destroy, and then we are going to give SE game object dot loop equals to false. We are going to set our looping to false, and SE dot game object dot looping is off, and now we are going to play it once. So we are going to play the audio source once. So now with that said, guys, now let's go back to the editor and make some of the changes over there. So in the spaceship we need to create we need to add an audio source, guys. So what you have to do right now is just remove this block, and as you can see there is an audio listener over there. So what you can do right now is just create an empty game object, guys, and the empty game name the empty game object as audio. Okay, make it sound effects to make it simple. Now add a component known as audio source, guys. Now I'm adding the component name as audio source, and now what I'm going to do is add this rocket thruster audio clip over there, and now I'm going to just click on the play on awake and loop it again and again. So when the game starts, it is going to play this music directly, play this sound effect directly, and it is going to loop it on and on until player dies. So with that said, guys, just name the game object as sound effects. And with that said, guys, what you have to do right now is just drag that sound effect game object over the inspector, no, over the script player controller. So I would just drag that sound effect over this SE game object, and now we need two clips, right, which is an exhaust clip and another clip is that explosion, right, guys. So what you have to do, one thing which we need to change is just remove that ship exhaust, okay, because we are not using it in the script. So after we remove that ship exhaust from the script, what you have to do is just save the changes and hit the play button. So as you can see, we are hearing, so as you were able to hear those exhaust sound and some background music. So let's decrease the background music to a bit low volume so that we could hear those exhaust sound effects. Okay, as we were actually decreasing the exhaust sound volume. So what you have to do is go back to the ship and decrease the sound of the music to 0.7, guys. So with that said, guys, let's hit the play button. Okay, it's working fine. And if I hit the collision, okay, guys, so the explosion was good enough, and as you can see, the game over functionality is working fine. So if I hit the start game button again, the game is being playing again. Okay, music is working great. As you can see, it is working fine. Since I mute the audio, you are unable to hear the audio, I guess. And now if I play this, you are going to hear some sound again. Okay, so with that we are done. So with that we are done playing the game, and the game is pretty much good to go.